Shake it off. You're okay, my dad snarled as I writhed in agony. She fakes it for attention, my brother claimed. Even my mom insisted I'd do anything to wreck a calm weekend. But when I blacked out and the paramedic ran a scan, she turned to them and said, "You need to call a lawyer because the MRI showed..." They said I just fell, that I was clumsy. But what if the people who are supposed to protect you are actually the ones pushing you down? My whole life was a carefully constructed lie, shattered by one shove, one video, and a spine that finally refused to bend. And let me tell you, when the truth came out, it wasn't just my back that broke. It was my entire family's carefully curated facade. The lake house was something out of a glossy magazine. All those beautiful wooden beams, huge windows catching the afternoon sun. From the outside, it screamed perfect family getaway. But inside, I, 17-year-old Olivia, was doing what I always did, pressing myself deeper into the living room couch, trying to become utterly invisible. My extended family filled the space with their loud conversations and boisterous laughter, and all I wanted was to just disappear. "Olivia, stop sulking in the corner," my mother Jennifer called out, not even looking my way. "Come help set the table." I stood up slowly, eyes fixed on the floor. Years of these gatherings had taught me the rules. Stay quiet, stay helpful, and for the love of God, stay out of Tyler's way. My 19-year-old brother was holding court near the fireplace, regaling our uncles with some ridiculous story from his college fraternity. They were roaring with laughter. As I passed, he caught my eye, and that small shift in his smile, that tiny, almost imperceptible change, made my stomach clench with cold dread. "There she goes," Tyler announced, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Watch out, everyone. Olivia's on the move. Better secure your valuables." A few relatives chuckled obligingly. I just kept walking towards the kitchen, my jaw tight. "Remember last Christmas when she knocked over Grandma's china cabinet?" Tyler continued, clearly enjoying his audience. "Cost Dad, what, $3,000 to replace everything?" "It was an accident," I muttered, not turning around. "Everything's an accident with you?" Tyler shot back, his voice dripping with condescension. "That's why we can't have nice things." My father, Robert, laughed from his armchair. "Tyler, leave your sister alone. You know how sensitive she gets." Sensitive. The word hung in the air like smoke, suffocating me. I'd heard it my whole life. Sensitive, dramatic, difficult. Those were the labels they used to explain away everything, to make me the problem instead of ever looking at what was really happening in our house. In the kitchen, I found my Aunt Susan arranging appetizers. She gave me a small, sad smile, the kind that said, "I understand, but I won't say anything." "Nobody ever said anything. Could you take these to the dining room?" Susan asked gently. I nodded, grateful for the task, for a temporary reprieve. I carried the platter carefully, hyper-aware that Tyler was watching me, his eyes tracking my every move, just waiting for me to stumble or drop something. I made it to the table successfully and started arranging the plates. "Kids these days," I heard my uncle saying to Tyler from the living room. "When I was in college, we knew how to have real fun. None of this social media nonsense." "Oh, we have plenty of fun," Tyler said, his voice carrying that sharp edge I knew too well. "Right, Liv? Tell Uncle Pete about all the fun you have at school." I didn't respond. I never knew what the right answer was. If I said I had friends, he'd mock me for lying. If I admitted I mostly kept to myself, he'd call me a loser in front of everyone. "She doesn't really do the social thing," Tyler answered for me, a sneer in his voice. "More of a library ghost. Probably why she's so pale." "Tyler," my mother said mildly, not even looking up from her phone. "Be nice to your sister." But there was no real warning in her voice. There never was. The afternoon stretched on agonizingly. Board games. Tyler finding endless ways to needle me. I won a round of Trivial Pursuit, and he accused me of cheating. I got up to use the bathroom, and he commented on how I always ran away when things got competitive. By evening, the house atmosphere had shifted. The adults had been drinking since lunch. The younger cousins were cranky. I saw my opportunity during a particularly heated game of Monopoly. Tyler had just bankrupted our cousin and was gloating loudly. I quietly stood up. "Where are you going?" Tyler's voice cut through the celebration. "Just upstairs for a minute," I said, already moving toward the staircase. Running away again? He was on his feet now, following. Typical Olivia. Can't handle a little competition. "I'm just tired, Tyler. You're always tired or sick or something. It's pathetic. He was right behind me as I reached the staircase landing. I tried to move past him, but he stepped in front, blocking the way. He was bigger than me, had been since his growth spurt at 14. Now, at 19, home from his sophomore year of college, he seemed to take up even more space. Tyler, please move. Or what? He spread his arms wide, a taunting grin on his face. I'm protecting the kingdom from the dragon. You can't pass. It was such a childish game, something from when we were little. But there was nothing playful in his eyes now. I tried to duck under his arm, and that's when it happened. His hands connected with my shoulders. Hard. Not a push, exactly, more like a violent shove. The kind that sent me backward with real force. I saw his face change as I fell. Saw a flicker of something, surprise, fear. Then I was tumbling, my body hitting the stairs at the wrong angle, my back twisting as I desperately tried to catch myself. I heard the crack before I felt it, a sound like a branch breaking. Then I was at the bottom of the stairs, and the pain arrived all at once. A blinding, searing fire. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't move. Could only lie there, staring at the ceiling, while footsteps thundered above me. What happened? That was my mother's voice, sharp with annoyance. She fell, Tyler said quickly, too quickly. She just fell. I tried to speak, tried to tell them that wasn't what happened, but I couldn't get enough air. My back felt wrong. Everything felt wrong. For God's sake. My father's voice boomed from the top of the stairs. Olivia, get up. You're making a scene. I tried. Oh God, I really tried. But when I attempted to move my legs, nothing. Just nothing. The panic that flooded through me then was worse than the pain. I can't, I whispered, tears welling up. What do you mean you can't? My mother was coming down the stairs now, carefully navigating her heels. Stop being dramatic. Mom, I can't move my legs. There was a moment of terrifying silence. Then my father laughed. Actually laughed. She's fine. She's always pulling stunts like this for attention. Tyler appeared at the edge of my vision, his face pale, eyes wide. It was just a joke, he said. But he was talking to our parents, not to me. I didn't push her that hard. So you did push her. Aunt Susan's voice came from somewhere I couldn't see. Not like that, Tyler said defensively. We were just messing around. She needs a hospital, Susan said firmly. She needs to stop being so dramatic. Robert countered. Olivia, seriously, get up. You're embarrassing yourself. The extended family had gathered now, a circle of faces looking down at me, some concerned, some annoyed, most just deeply uncomfortable. The little cousins were being ushered away. Someone was saying something about ruining the evening. I closed my eyes, hot tears sliding down my temples into my hair. I could hear them talking about me, around me, but never to me. Never to me. I was a problem to be solved, an inconvenience to be managed. And now I couldn't feel my legs, and they still didn't believe me. Come on, sweetheart. Try to sit up. My mother's voice had shifted to the fake sweetness she used in public. They had an audience now, and Jennifer Harrison never looked bad in front of an audience. I tried again, using my arms to push myself up, but the movement sent lightning through my spine. I screamed, couldn't help it, and fell back. Jesus Christ, my father muttered. Tyler, help your sister up. Tyler moved forward reluctantly, reaching for my arms. Come on, Liv, stop being weird. Don't touch me. The words came out louder than I intended. Tyler jerked back like he'd been slapped. I was trying to help, he said, his voice rising in indignation. It was just a joke, okay? I didn't mean for you to fall like that. You pushed me, I said, my voice shaking. I was playing around. Tyler's face was red now. You're the one who's clumsy. You're always falling over stuff. That's true, my mother chimed in quickly. Remember when she fell off her bike last summer? And that time at school when she tripped in the cafeteria? I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell them those weren't accidents either, that Tyler had loosened my bike chain, that he'd tripped me in the cafeteria. But what was the point? They never believed me. They never wanted to believe me. We should call an ambulance, Aunt Susan said again, her phone already in her hand. Absolutely not, Robert said firmly. We're not wasting emergency services on a teenager's tantrum. Robert, she says she can't move her legs, Susan argued. She's lying, he said flatly. Or exaggerating. She always does this. Time passed strangely after that. I lay on the floor while the family debated above me. Someone suggested moving me to the couch, but when they tried, the pain was so intense I nearly passed out. Eventually, they just left me there, throwing a blanket over me like I was a piece of broken furniture they didn't know what to do with. The party continued around me. I could hear them in the dining room, the clink of silverware, the murmur of conversation. They were eating dinner while I lay on the floor. The numbness in my legs was spreading, a cold, terrifying sensation creeping up from my lower back. I tried wiggling my toes, concentrated all my effort on it, but nothing happened. My 8-year-old cousin, Emma, snuck over to me while the adults were distracted. Emma was a quiet kid with huge brown eyes who rarely spoke at family gatherings. "Olivia," she whispered, kneeling beside me. "Are you really hurt?" "Yes," I whispered back. "Why won't they help you?" I didn't know how to answer that. How did you explain to an 8-year-old that sometimes the people who were supposed to protect you were the ones who hurt you the most? "Can you stay with me?" I asked instead. Emma nodded and sat cross-legged beside me, her small hand reaching out to hold mine. We stayed like that for what felt like hours, Emma occasionally stroking my hair the way my own mother never did. "This is ridiculous," I heard my Uncle Mark saying from the dining room. "The girl needs medical attention." "She's fine," Robert insisted. "Trust me, I know my daughter. This is what she does." "What she does is lie on floors paralyzed?" Mark's wife, Caroline, asked sarcastically. "She's not paralyzed," Jennifer said sharply. "She's being dramatic. She's always been jealous of Tyler, always trying to get him in trouble." "By throwing herself down the stairs?" Caroline's voice was incredulous. "You don't know her like we do," Robert said with finality. "She's manipulative. Has been since she was little." I felt Emma's hand tighten in mine. Even an 8-year-old could recognize gaslighting when she heard it. The argument continued until Caroline stood up from the dinner table and announced she was calling 911. "You do that, and you're not welcome in this house again," Robert threatened. "Fine by me," Caroline shot back, her phone already at her ear. The room erupted. Robert was shouting about lawsuits and family loyalty. Jennifer was crying about how Caroline was ruining everything. Tyler kept saying it was just a joke, over and over like a broken record. When the paramedics arrived 15 minutes later, the house fell silent. 2 EMTs, a man and a woman, entered with a professional calm that cut through the family chaos like a knife. "Hi there," the woman said, kneeling beside me. "I'm Rachel. What's your name?" "Olivia." "Hi, Olivia. Can you tell me what happened?" "She fell," Jennifer said quickly before I could answer. "She's clumsy, falls all the time." Rachel didn't even look at Jennifer. Her eyes stayed on me. "Can you tell me what happened?" "I was pushed," I said quietly. "Down the stairs." "She's confused," Robert interjected, trying to brush it off. They were playing around, kids being kids. The male paramedic was already examining me, his hands gentle but thorough. "Can you feel this?" he asked, touching my legs. "No." He exchanged a look with Rachel. "We need to transport her immediately." "This is unnecessary," Jennifer protested. "She's just bruised, maybe pulled a muscle." Rachel stood up slowly and turned to face my parents. "Ma'am, your daughter is showing signs of potential spinal injury. She needs immediate medical attention." "She's faking," Robert said flatly. The male paramedic was checking my back now, carefully lifting my shirt. He went very still. "Rachel," he said quietly, "you need to see this." Rachel moved around to look, and her expression hardened. I couldn't see what they were looking at, but I could guess. The bruises. Old ones, new ones. The map of Tyler's jokes written on my skin. "We're transporting now," Rachel said, her voice different, colder. "And we'll need someone to come with us to answer some questions." "I'll come," Jennifer said quickly, grabbing her purse. Rachel looked at her for a long moment. "Actually, we'll need both parents. Hospital policy." As they loaded me onto the stretcher, I heard Rachel speaking quietly into her radio. Most of it was medical jargon I didn't understand, but I caught the last part clearly, requesting police presence at the hospital. Possible child abuse situation. Tyler's face appeared above me as they wheeled me toward the ambulance. He looked scared now. Really scared. "Liv," he whispered urgently. "Don't say anything stupid, okay? It was just a joke, you know. It was just a joke." But I was done pretending. Done protecting him. Done being silent. As they lifted me into the ambulance, I looked him straight in the eye and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "No, Tyler, it wasn't." The hospital was a blur of white walls and bright lights. I was rushed through corridors, medical staff calling out terms I didn't understand. The pain medication they'd given me in the ambulance made everything feel distant and dreamlike, but I could still feel the weight of what was happening. 17-year-old female fall downstairs approximately 3 hours ago, Rachel was saying to the emergency room doctor. Possible spinal trauma, unable to move lower extremities. Multiple contusions in various stages of healing observed on back and torso. The doctor, a woman with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, leaned over me. I'm Dr. Brett Patel. We're going to take good care of you. Okay? I nodded, or tried to. They put my neck in a brace, and movement was difficult. We need to get her to imaging immediately, Dr. Patel said. Full spinal series, and I want a complete body scan. My parents, I whispered. They're here, a nurse said gently. They're in the waiting room. As they wheeled me toward the MRI suite, I could hear my mother's voice carrying down the hallway. This is ridiculous. She's fine. This is all a misunderstanding. The MRI room was cold and sterile. The technician, a young man named James, explained everything he was doing as he positioned me. This is going to be loud, he said kindly. Like really loud construction noise. But I'll be right here the whole time, and you can talk to me through the intercom if you need anything. A nurse stayed with me, holding my hand as they slid me into the machine. The woman's touch was gentle, maternal in a way my own mother's had never been. You're very brave, the nurse whispered just before the machine started. The MRI seemed to last forever, the banging and clicking sounds reverberating through my bones. I closed my eyes and tried to think of anything else, but my mind kept returning to Tyler's face, to that moment of surprise when I'd fallen. Like even he hadn't expected it to go that far. When it was over, James helped transfer me to a regular hospital bed. His face was carefully neutral, but I saw him exchange a look with the nurse. The doctor will be in to talk to you soon, he said, but something in his voice had changed. Alone in the room for the first time, I could hear my parents in the hallway. My mother was demanding to speak to the doctor privately. I need to know what she's telling people, Jennifer was saying. She has a tendency to exaggerate. Ma'am, your daughter has a serious injury, someone responded. She's always been clumsy. My father's voice joined in. This is probably costing thousands of dollars for nothing. My phone buzzed on the bedside table. The nurse had salvaged it from my pocket. I looked at the screen and my stomach clenched. A text from Tyler. Don't say anything stupid. It was a joke. You know how mom and dad get. Don't make this worse than it is. Then another. I'm sorry, okay? I didn't mean for you to get hurt. And another. If you tell them I did it on purpose, you'll destroy our family. I was still staring at the messages when Dr. Patel returned. And this time she wasn't alone. The technician was with her, and they both looked grave. Olivia, Dr. Patel said, pulling a chair up beside the bed. I need to talk to you about what we found. Am I paralyzed? The word came out as barely a whisper, a fearful prayer. No, Dr. Patel said quickly. The good news is that while you have a compression fracture in your L3 vertebra, your spinal cord is intact. With treatment and physical therapy, you should regain full mobility. A wave of relief flooded through me, so profound it almost made me dizzy. But the doctor's expression didn't change. However, Dr. Patel continued, the MRI showed something else. Something concerning. She pulled up images on a tablet, showing them to me. They looked like ghostly white pictures of bones. These are your ribs, she said, pointing. This fracture here is fresh from today. But these, she pointed to several other areas, these are older. Different stages of healing. This one is maybe 2 months old. This one, perhaps 6 months. I stared at the images. Evidence. Finally, evidence that I wasn't crazy, wasn't dramatic, wasn't making things up. There's also this, Dr. Patel continued, showing another image. Damage to your T7 vertebra that's at least a year old. Olivia, these injuries, they paint a picture of repeated trauma. Can you tell me how they happened? The room felt very quiet suddenly. I could hear my heart monitor beeping. Could hear voices in the hallway, but it all seemed very far away. My brother, I said finally, the words a strained confession. Tyler, he likes to play rough. Play rough how? And suddenly it was all spilling out. The pushing, the shoving, the accidents that weren't accidents. The time he'd pushed me off my bike and I'd ended up with a concussion. The time he'd locked me outside in the snow in just my pajamas. The time he'd held my head underwater in the pool until I'd nearly drowned. then told everyone I'd been showing off and gotten in over my head. Dr. Patel listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes on her tablet. When I finished, the doctor was quiet for a moment. Olivia, what you're describing is abuse. Physical abuse. And from these scans, it's been going on for a long time. My parents say I'm clumsy, I said automatically, the old, worn excuse. You're not clumsy. You're being hurt. And from what I'm seeing here, you've been being hurt for years. There was a knock on the door and a nurse poked her head in. Doctor, the parents are insisting on seeing their daughter. Not yet, Dr. Patel said firmly. I need to make some calls first. She turned back to me. I've asked hospital security to contact the police. Someone needs to document this properly. Is that okay? I nodded, feeling something shift inside my chest. For the first time in my life, someone believed me. Someone saw what was happening and called it what it was. My parents must have forced their way past the nurses because suddenly they were in the room. My mother's face was flushed with anger. My father's jaw clenched tight. What are you telling them? Jennifer demanded. What lies are you spreading? Mrs. Harrison, Dr. Patel said, standing up. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. She's my daughter. I have every right to be here. Your daughter is 17 and has disclosed abuse. Hospital policy requires abuse? Robert's voice was dangerous. She fell down the stairs. If she's saying anything else, she's lying. The medical evidence suggests otherwise, Dr. Patel said calmly. Medical evidence? Jennifer laughed, but it sounded hysterical, brittle. She's clumsy. She's always been clumsy. Tell them, Olivia. Tell them about all your accidents. But before I could respond, 2 hospital security guards appeared in the doorway along with a police officer. Mr. and Mrs. Harrison, the officer said, I'm Officer Thompson. I need to speak with you and your son. Is he here? This is insane, Robert said. We're not talking to anyone without a lawyer. That's your right, Officer Thompson said, but I'll need you to come with me now. We have some questions about your daughter's injuries. Jennifer turned to me, and for a moment, her mask slipped completely. The look she gave her daughter wasn't motherly concern or even anger. It was pure hatred. You're destroying this family, she hissed. No, I said, finding my voice at last. Tyler did that. And you let him. Officer Thompson escorted my parents out, but not before I heard him say something that made my heart race. We're also going to need to speak with Tyler Harrison. Is he in the waiting room? Dr. Patel sat back down beside my bed. You did the right thing, she said gently. I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but you did the right thing. I looked at the MRI images still displayed on the tablet. All those old fractures, all that hidden damage finally visible. The truth literally written in my bones. What happens now? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Now we make sure you're safe, Dr. Patel said, and we make sure this never happens again. Through the door, I could hear commotion in the hallway. Tyler's voice loud and defensive. It was just a joke. I didn't mean to hurt her. She's always been dramatic. Then Officer Thompson's voice, calm but firm. Mr. Harrison, I'm going to need you to come with me. For years, I had been falling and no one had caught me. But here, finally, someone was standing at the bottom of the stairs, ready to help me back up. The MRI hadn't just shown my injuries. It had shown the truth. And the truth after all this time was finally setting me free. The hospital hallway had become a battlefield. Through my door, I could hear my mother's voice rising to a pitch I'd only heard a few times before, when Jennifer Harrison's carefully constructed image was truly threatened. You can't just take my son! Jennifer was practically screaming. He's a good boy. He's in college. He has a future. Ma'am, he's 19 years old. Officer Thompson's voice was steady. He's an adult, and we need to ask him some questions about your daughter's injuries. It was an accident. Tyler's voice cracked. I already told you. We were just messing around. I pulled the thin hospital blanket up to my chin, trying to block out the chaos. A soft knock on my door made me look up. A woman in her 40s with gentle eyes and a professional blazer entered. Hi, Olivia. I'm Sarah Mitchell from Child Protective Services. Even though you're 17, we're involved because there are younger children who visit your home. May I sit? I nodded. Sarah pulled up a chair, her movements calm and deliberate. I know you've already told your story to Dr. Patel, but I need to hear it from you. And I need to know about your cousin, Emma, and any other children who spend time at your house. Emma's safe, I said quickly. Tyler only does this to me. Why do you think that is? I had never really thought about it before. I guess I was the only one who ever said no to him. When we were kids, I wouldn't let him copy my homework, wouldn't cover for him when he broke things. He called me a snitch. Sarah made notes in a small notebook. And your parents? They think he's perfect. He's the athlete, the popular one, the one going to a good college. I trailed off, searching for the right painful word. You're just what? Sarah finished softly. The problem? The difficult one? The one who ruins things by existing? Before Sarah could respond, the door burst open. Robert Harrison stood there, his face red with rage. A man in an expensive suit stood beside him. This is David Kramer, our attorney, Robert announced. Olivia, you're not to say another word to anyone without him present. Mr. Harrison, Sarah said calmly. Your daughter is giving a statement about her injuries. She has the right to speak freely. She's a minor, the lawyer said smoothly. And as her parents, my clients have the right to be present for any questioning. Actually, Dr. Patel appeared in the doorway. Olivia is 17, and in the state of Colorado, she can make her own medical decisions and speak to authorities about abuse without parental consent. Abuse? Robert's voice was dangerous again. My son pushed his sister during a game. Siblings fight. That's not abuse. Mr. Harrison, Officer Thompson had returned. We've just reviewed the text messages your son sent to your daughter after the incident. Messages where he admits to pushing her and tells her not to say anything. We're placing Tyler under arrest for assault. The explosion was immediate. Jennifer began sobbing dramatically. Robert was shouting about lawsuits, and the lawyer was making threats about false arrest. But through it all, I heard Tyler's voice from the hallway. She made me do it. She's always provoking me. She knows how to push my buttons. That's enough, Tyler. Another officer's voice said, You have the right to remain silent. The words faded as they led him away. Jennifer rushed after them, her heels clicking on the hospital floor. Robert lingered, staring at me with an expression I'd never seen before. You've destroyed everything, he said quietly. Your brother's future, our family's reputation, everything we've built. For what? Attention? I asked, my voice surprisingly steady. For the truth. He left without another word. Sarah stayed with me for another hour, asking careful questions about the home environment, about patterns of behavior, about the times I'd tried to tell someone and been dismissed. When she finally left, she squeezed my hand. You're very brave, she said. And you're not alone anymore. That evening, Aunt Susan snuck into my room after visiting hours, looking around nervously. I had to use my hospital volunteer badge to get in, she admitted, sitting on the edge of my bed. Your parents have you on a no-visitor list except for them and their lawyer. Why are you here? I asked, genuinely curious. Susan had always been kind, but never intervened before. Because I should have done this years ago. Susan's eyes filled with tears. I knew something was wrong. The bruises you always had, the way you flinched when Tyler came near you, the way your parents always dismissed your injuries. I knew, and I said nothing because I didn't want to cause drama in the family. It wouldn't have mattered, I said, a bitter truth. They wouldn't have believed you either. Maybe not, but I should have tried. Susan pulled out her phone. I've been taking pictures at family gatherings for years. Going through them last night, I found something. She showed me the screen. It was a photo from last summer's 4th of July party. In the background, barely visible, Tyler had his hand on my arm, gripping hard enough that even in the blurry background you could see my wince. There are more, Susan said. Christmas 2 years ago. There's one where you have a black eye that your mom said was from walking into a door. Your cousin's birthday party where you're wearing long sleeves in 90-degree weather. I'm giving these to the police. They'll never forgive you, I warned. Good, Susan said firmly. I don't want their forgiveness. The next morning brought a new complication. Jennifer arrived with a different strategy. Tears streaming down her perfectly made-up face. Sweetheart, she said, reaching for my hand. I pulled away. I know you're confused and hurt. The medication they have you on, it can make you remember things differently. The MRI doesn't lie, Mom. Jennifer's expression flickered. Those old injuries, they were from your clumsiness. Remember when you fell off your bike? When you tripped at school? Tyler loosened my bike chain. He tripped me at school. You can't prove that, Jennifer said, and there was something triumphant in her voice. It's your word against his. And sweetheart, who do you think people will believe? The star athlete. With a bright future or the troubled girl who's been in therapy for anxiety and depression? My heart sank. I had been in therapy briefly until my parents decided it was making me worse and pulled me out. The medical evidence, I started, shows injuries that could have come from anywhere. Jennifer interrupted. Our lawyer says without proof that Tyler caused them intentionally, it's just unfortunate accidents. She leaned closer and I could smell her expensive perfume. Come home, Jennifer whispered. Tell them you were confused, that it was an accident. Tyler will apologize. We'll get you the best physical therapy and everything can go back to normal. Normal? I couldn't help but laugh, a bitter, broken sound. Normal was being afraid in my own home. Normal was being called clumsy and dramatic when I was being hurt. Normal was you choosing him over me every single time. Jennifer stood up, smoothing her skirt. You have until tomorrow to decide. After that, you're on your own. No college fund, no health insurance after you turn 18, nothing. You'll be just another sad story. Alone and broken. After she left, I lay in the dark, tears sliding down my face. They were right about one thing. It would be my word against theirs. The Harrison family versus the troubled daughter. Then my phone buzzed. It was Emma's mother, Caroline. Check your email, the text said. I opened it to find a video file. It was from the lake house taken on Caroline's phone. She'd been recording Emma singing, but in the background, clear as day, was the staircase. The video showed Tyler blocking my path. Showed him shoving me. Showed me falling. Everything. Emma remembered I was recording her, Caroline's next text read. We have proof. The video changed everything. Within hours of Caroline sending it to the police, Tyler's charges were upgraded from simple assault to aggravated assault. The prosecutor, a woman named Amanda Washington with sharp eyes and an even sharper suit, came to see me personally. This video, combined with your medical records and testimony, makes a very strong case, she explained. But I need to be honest with you. Your family has money. They've hired David Kramer, who's very good at what he does. This is going to get ugly. It's already ugly, I said. Amanda smiled slightly. Fair point. Tyler's been released on bail with conditions. No contact with you. He can't come within 500 feet of you, and he has to surrender his passport. My parents posted his bail. Within an hour of his arrest. I wasn't surprised, but it still hurt. The next few days brought a media storm. Somehow the story had leaked. College student arrested for assaulting sister made the local news, then spread to social media. Tyler's fraternity suspended him pending investigation. His college announced they were reviewing his enrollment status. Robert and Jennifer fought back in the court of public opinion. They gave an interview to a local morning show. Jennifer dabbing at her eyes with a tissue as she described me as a troubled teen who had always resented her successful brother. We've tried so hard with her, Jennifer said to the sympathetic host. Therapy, medication, special attention, but she's always been jealous of Tyler. And these injuries? The host asked carefully. She's always been accident-prone, Robert said smoothly. We have medical records going back years. Falls, bumps, bruises. We even had her tested for balance disorders. They were good. I had to admit that. They'd taken every injury Tyler had caused and spun it into evidence of my supposed clumsiness. But Amanda Washington was better. She released a statement with select portions of the medical records, showing the pattern of injuries consistent with abuse, not accidents. She shared statistics about sibling abuse, how it was often overlooked and dismissed. And then, with my permission, she released a single still from Caroline's video. The moment of Tyler's hands on my shoulders, his face twisted in anger. Tyler's carefully crafted image crumbled overnight. His social media filled with comments calling him a monster. His fraternity officially expelled him. The college announced he was no longer welcome on campus. And Tyler predictably lashed out. Despite the restraining order, he found ways to get messages to me through mutual acquaintances. You've ruined my life. I hope you're happy. This is all your fault. But the most chilling message came through our cousin. She's lying about other things, too. I never hurt her before. This was the only time. That's when I made a decision. I started writing. I'd always kept journals hidden in various places Tyler and my parents couldn't find them. Now in the hospital, I began transcribing them, typing everything into my phone. Every incident, every injury, every dismissal, every excuse. September 15th, 2 years ago. Tyler pushed me into the pool fully clothed because I wouldn't give him my homework. When I couldn't swim properly in jeans and sneakers, he told Mom I jumped in to get attention. December 23rd, 3 years ago. He locked me in the basement storage room during Christmas dinner. 3 hours in the dark. When Dad finally found me, Tyler said we were playing hide and seek and I was too stupid to realize the game was over. March broke my ribs wrestling. Mom said it was my fault for not being careful. I had to wrap them myself because they wouldn't take me to the doctor. Pages and pages of evidence, dated and detailed. Sarah Mitchell from CPS read through them with tears in her eyes. "This is systematic abuse," she said, "and systematic neglect from your parents." The prosecutor added the journals to evidence. The case was building. Meanwhile, I had been moved to the rehabilitation wing of the hospital. My spinal fracture was healing, but I needed intensive physical therapy to regain full mobility in my legs. The first time I stood up, supported by parallel bars, I cried, not from pain, but from pure, unadulterated relief. "You're doing amazing," my physical therapist, Marcus, encouraged me. "Most people with your injury take weeks to get this far." "I'm motivated," I said through gritted teeth, taking another shaky step. "I can see that. Family visiting today?" "No," I said simply. Marcus didn't push, but I did have visitors. Caroline came every day with Emma, who drew pictures for my room. Susan brought home-cooked meals, ignoring the angry texts from Jennifer calling her a traitor. Even Uncle Mark stopped by, awkwardly admitting he should have stood up to Robert years ago. "I was a coward," he said simply. "I'm sorry." A reporter from the Denver Post reached out, wanting to do a feature story on sibling abuse. After discussing it with Amanda, I agreed to an interview, with my identity protected. The article, titled "The Hidden Epidemic When Siblings Become Abusers," featured my story prominently. It talked about how sibling abuse was often dismissed as kids being kids, how parents often enabled it by refusing to see one child as capable of seriously hurting another. The response was overwhelming. Hundreds of people reached out with their own stories. I read them late at night, finding comfort in knowing I wasn't alone. But the Harrisons weren't giving up without a fight. David Kramer filed motion after motion. He argued the video was inadmissible because it was taken without Tyler's consent. He claimed my journals were creative writing exercises, not factual accounts. He brought in a medical expert who testified that my injuries could have resulted from a connective tissue disorder that caused easy bruising and fractures. "They're trying to gaslight the entire legal system," Amanda told me after a particularly frustrating hearing. But juries aren't stupid. They can see patterns. The trial date was set for 3 months out. Tyler remained free on bail, though his life had effectively imploded. He'd been kicked out of his apartment when his roommates learned about the charges. His girlfriend left him. His summer internship was rescinded. Robert and Jennifer sold their vacation home to pay for his legal defense. "Look what you've done to us," Jennifer said during what would be our last confrontation at the hospital. "We're selling everything. Your father's reputation is ruined. Tyler can't go back to school. Are you satisfied?" "I didn't do this," I said quietly, my voice filled with a new steel-cold certainty. "Tyler did this. You did this. Every time you looked away, every time you called me dramatic, every time you chose him over me, you did this. We gave you everything," Jennifer exploded. "You gave me bruises and anxiety and a brother who knew he could hurt me without consequences." I shot back. "That's what you gave me." The courtroom was smaller than I had expected. 3 months had passed since the fall, and I could walk now, though I still used a cane on bad days. Today was a bad day, but I refused to lean on it as I made my way to the witness stand. Tyler sat at the defense table in a suit that couldn't hide how much weight he'd lost. My parents were behind him, Jennifer clutching Robert's hand like a lifeline. They wouldn't look at me. "State your name for the record," the clerk said. "Olivia Grace Harrison." Amanda Washington stood up, giving me an encouraging nod. "Olivia, can you tell us about your relationship with your brother?" For the next 2 hours, I spoke. I talked about the years of abuse, the constant fear, the way my parents had dismissed and diminished my pain. I kept my voice steady even when describing the worst incidents. David Kramer's cross-examination was brutal. "Isn't it true you've been in therapy for depression?" he asked. "Yes," I replied, meeting his gaze. "Because being abused is depressing. You kept journals, but you never told anyone what was allegedly happening." I told my parents multiple times. They didn't believe me. Or perhaps these incidents didn't happen the way you remember them. "The MRI doesn't lie, Mr. Kramer. Neither does the video." He tried everything, suggesting I was jealous of Tyler's success, that I had a pattern of attention-seeking behavior. that my injuries were self-inflicted or accidental. But I had spent 3 months preparing for this with Amanda. I didn't waver. The prosecution's evidence was overwhelming. The video played on a large screen, Tyler's shove clear and deliberate. Medical experts explained how the pattern of injuries was consistent with long-term abuse. Sarah Mitchell testified about the family dynamics she'd observed. Then came the surprise witness. The prosecution calls Madison Wells. I didn't recognize the name until a young woman took the stand. Then I gasped. Madison had been Tyler's girlfriend in high school. Miss Wells, Amanda began, you dated Tyler Harrison for how long? 2 years. Junior and senior year. Why did the relationship end? Madison looked directly at Tyler. He pushed me down a flight of stairs. The courtroom erupted. Jennifer actually screamed. She's lying! The judge banged his gavel. Order, order! Madison continued, her voice shaking but determined. He said it was an accident. I believed him at first. But then I saw how he was with Olivia at a family dinner I attended. The way he accidentally hurt her. The way their parents ignored it. I realized what he'd done to me wasn't an accident either. Did you report it? Amanda asked. No, I was 17. I was scared, and I saw how the Harrisons treated Olivia when she tried to speak up. I knew no one would believe me. Tyler's defense fell apart after that. 2 more ex-girlfriends came forward with similar stories. A teammate from high school testified about Tyler's violent temper. The pattern was undeniable. When Tyler took the stand in his own defense, he was a shadow of his former confident self. It was just roughhousing, he insisted. Siblings fight. I never meant to really hurt her. You never meant to break her ribs? Amanda pressed. Never meant to fracture her spine? I didn't know I was hurting her that badly. She screamed. She cried. She begged you to stop and you didn't know? Tyler's jaw clenched. She's always been dramatic. Like Madison Wells was dramatic? Like Sarah Chin was dramatic? Like Rebecca Foster was dramatic? That's different. How is it different, Mr. Harrison? Tyler's composure finally cracked. Because Olivia knew how to push my buttons. She knew exactly what to say to make me angry. She wanted me to get in trouble. So you're saying your 17-year-old sister deserved to have her spine fractured? I'm saying she's not innocent in this. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Guilty of aggravated assault. Guilty of pattern of abuse. Guilty of violating the restraining order through third-party contact. Tyler was sentenced to 2 years in prison and 5 years probation. He would have to register as a violent offender. His dreams of law school, of the successful future he'd always assumed was his, were over. Robert and Jennifer were charged with child neglect and endangerment. They received probation and were required to attend parenting classes and therapy. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. After the verdict, I stood in the courthouse hallway, leaning on my cane. My parents walked past without a word, but Jennifer stopped at the last moment. I hope you're happy, she said coldly, her voice devoid of any warmth. I'm free, I replied, meeting her stare head-on. That's enough. I went to live with Susan, who had already set up a room for me, painted in the soft blues and greens I loved. It wasn't perfect. Nightmares still woke me, and some days the trauma felt overwhelming. But I was in therapy again, real therapy this time, with a counselor who specialized in family abuse. 6 months later, I published an essay in the Washington Post titled "The Fall That Saved My Life." It went viral within hours. I received thousands of messages from other survivors, from parents who recognized warning signs they'd been ignoring, from siblings who realized they were being abused. I started speaking at schools and conferences about recognizing and reporting sibling abuse. I testified before a state legislative committee about the need for better protective laws. The physical therapy was grueling, but a year after the fall, I could walk without assistance. I'd never run marathons or play contact sports, but I could move freely without fear. I started college the following fall, majoring in social work with a minor in creative writing. My roommate asked about my scars once, and I told her simply, "My brother hurt me, but I survived." On the anniversary of the fall, I stood at the bottom of a different staircase, the one in my dorm. I looked up at it, remembering that moment of terror, that sensation of falling with no one to catch me. But I'd caught myself in the end. The MRI had revealed the truth, but I'd been the one brave enough to speak it. The fall hadn't broken me. It had finally given me the evidence I needed to break free. I climbed the stairs slowly but steadily. Each step a small victory. At the top, I looked back down. Just stairs, nothing more. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma, now 10 and thriving. Saw your article in my teacher's class today. She says, "You're a hero." I smiled, typing back. Not a hero, just someone who finally told the truth. I walked to my room, past a group of students laughing in the hallway. One of them called out, "Hey, Olivia, study group tomorrow?" "I'll be there." I called back. I had friends now, real ones, people who knew my story and liked me anyway. Not in spite of my trauma, but because of the strength I'd shown in surviving it. That night, I opened my laptop and began writing. "Dear Tyler, this is the last thing I'll ever write about you. You took 17 years of my life, but you won't get a single day more. I don't forgive you. Forgiveness is mine to give or withhold, and I choose to withhold it. But I don't hate you either. Hate would mean you still have power over me, and you don't. Not anymore. I hope you learn from this. I hope you get help. I hope you never hurt anyone again. But mostly, I hope to never think of you after today. This is goodbye. Your sister, former Olivia." I never sent it. Instead, I deleted it, closed my laptop, and pulled out my chemistry textbook. I had a test tomorrow, a life to live, a future to build. The MRI had shown the fractures in my bones, but it hadn't shown the strength that had always been there, waiting to heal, waiting to rise. And rise I did. Have you ever wondered how many clumsy kids are actually crying for help in plain sight, their truth buried under family secrets and perfect facades? Tell me what you think. I really want to know.